The following program was produced by an independent community producer. The opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the ECAT staff or board of directors.
Coming to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of Be Awesome. Find positivity throughout your life and work. Just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Be Awesome podcast. And this is it's the first official co-hosted event with the one and only Mr. Mark Resnick.
Hey, Josh.
How you feeling after that being put on the spotlight as the host interviewing me?
Well, you fed me this incredible pizza, so I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Well, we got an awesome guest, as we always do, that we're going to dig right into. But I did want to talk about something from the last episode that you put me on the hot seat about sponsors and discussed, like, hey, we should get sponsors. And I think it's important for people to know who I'd love to have sponsor us. Maybe you got a couple companies. But Adidas, I wear Stan Smith sneakers. That's one of my trademarks. American Airlines, JetBlue, National Rent-A-Car, Hilton, Airbnb, which if they don't, they should have an Airbnb business where they could help you find, because I get some really cool rentals out of that. I tell you, I got a bunch of them, but like those are just the starters that I can think of. Apple, because I use my iPhone more than I use anything. But I don't know that
Josh,
they sponsor our podcast.
I love the idea.
Yeah.
You and I both love to promote brands that we like.
Or either and Liquid Death, even though I just had my first explosion of a $2 can all over the ECAT studio.
I just didn't realize you were going to set the bar so high.
Yeah, no, I am.
I'm thinking like, we're going to do the startups, the smaller companies, and he's like,
yeah, no,
Nike, Adidas.
Yeah, no, I'm going all big,
big
no,
time. Well,
those are the big companies that I use, but I think that you're right. I think I want to sponsor small companies by talking about them without worrying about them having to pay.
Yeah, well, my thought was I'm sorry Shaun to keep you waiting here. Just take a second. We talk about StoryWorth all the time.
Yeah,
so
that's a big company,
and that is a big company,
mm-hmm.
but it's not as big as Adidas. And
yeah, I know. Yeah, put it out there.
All right, no, well, hey,
but StoryWorth is a big one. I think that StoryWorth should be one. I think that Shaun is a StoryWorth customer at some point. And but he's looking at us like, what's StoryWorth? He probably knows. He's probably already doing it. But okay, we'll dig into more sponsor lists. But I was just sitting here thinking, I'm like, what do I actually use that I'd be willing to talk about without actually getting paid? But then I could get maybe free shoes or maybe a status upgrade or a few bucks or do something. And it's all people that do good for me while I'm traveling and on the road. And then when I'm home, there's definitely some companies that are.
Yeah, I'm going to put together a list, and we'll
a lengthy list of qualified candidates, opposed to us taking. Don't call us, we'll call you.
No. We don't want to open the floodgates and get calls from all these random people. But if you think you're an appropriate fit for Be Awesome, if you can be anything, Be Awesome, and your product's awesome.
Yep.
We'll give it we'll consider you.
We'll give you a test run.
Yeah.
As long as it's bar pizza.
Yeah.
Bar pizza, there's only one bar pizza that we can talk about in this shop.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep, Buddy's Union Villa. Yep.
Well, I wasn't going to mention them until
that's
our first sponsorship.
EJ Richard, one of the founding family members, was on the podcast. He gets it, and he's been amazingly generous over the years, so I'm going to give him a shameless plug.
Yeah, no, they're extremely generous. I've heard the stories.
They were generous to me during a benefit party I had.
See,
there you go.
Bingo. And that's a little better way to get into our guest here, who is, I got to tell you, so we're both wearing Shoveltown flag shirts, and it wasn't planned or called ahead. It was just laundry day.
Found a little left out.
And Chris. But Shaun Melendy I met, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, I guess, right? I went over to Shoveltown Flags Galactic headquarters, a.k.a. Chris's garage, next to his house. And Shaun was there, and we were sitting in the kitchen, and he's talking and telling his story, and it was just so not what I expected. I expected this, like, different, like, just very relaxed, very calm, very, like, cool, very understanding, and all this. And he's going to tell the story, and you're going to be like, what? And I was like, dude, you need to share this with more people and get it out there, because not only is it like wild that you're even alive right now, but you're an inspiration as to how you can allow your mind to persevere and go through the most difficult of times. And so, without further ado, former Easton resident, right?
Yes.
Former Easton resident, Shaun Melendy. Welcome, my friend.
Thanks for having me, the both of you.
Is this your first podcast?
This is my first podcast.
Oh, hey. Welcome.
I didn't
I don't
know
like that smile though.
Yeah. No, you're gonna love this
All right,
smile.
great.
So Shaun, we can't see one of the things that we're going to talk about. Adam just set you up.
All right.
Now you sound much better. Much better. That's all Adam needs to do. You just need to see the hand come in. That's Adam moving the boom. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll get into your story of sorts. But who is Shaun? Where did he go? What?
So I grew up here in Easton, Massachusetts, and graduated from Oliver Ames, and I went into the Coast Guard. It's my whole life. I've always wanted to help other people from a real young age, and the Coast Guard was for me. I joined the Coast Guard right after I graduated high school. I wanted to become a rescue swimmer. I accomplished that task and goal. I moved on and went to the boat world, and I was a marine mechanic, an engineer on the boats. But by being in the Coast Guard, there isn't a lot of enlisted members. Mm-hmm. So you don't just do one job. You have to do in charge of several jobs. Or in the Navy, you're specific and you have one job. So not only was I the mechanic, but then you're also law enforcement. So I did a lot of law enforcement things. I spent some time in Nantucket, which was fabulous. Mm-hmm. Even in the winter, it was great. I love the outdoors. I kayak quite a bit. I recently got sponsored by a kayak company and asked to be like a sublet dealer of his on the South Shore here, and I do that still. I'm still racing kayaks. I'm still paddling kayaks. And so I love the outdoors. Did I say that already?
Yeah. How fast does a kayak go when you race kayaks, out of curiosity? Because I get mine going at least 2 miles an hour, which is fast.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's dependent on lots of different things. Yeah. The seas, winds.
Can you go 15,
flat
20
water.
miles an hour?
No.
Oh.
No.
I was just going to see.
Not that exciting.
Just feverishly paddling.
Right.
Eight to 10 probably.
Yeah.
With a sustained of 7 or 8 miles an hour probably.
And how many years did you do in the Coast Guard?
I did 4 years in the Coast Guard.
Okay.
Yep. I went in 4 years active duty. Then they do the 4 years inactive afterwards, and they hold you for a while. But it was great. By going into that branch of the service, I did just what I wanted to do, right? Help other people, be there for people, educate. There's lots to educate people on boating. I'm sure everybody's been to a boat ramp and witnessed all kinds of chaos. Mm-hmm. So by doing that and then getting an education myself on, what they want you to do and not the way you want to do it, that helped me go where I'm at.
You get those life skills though in those branches that you just can't get anywhere else too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Working on a boat and just to meet the people you meet, the life lessons, the how to deal with people is just incredible.
Oh yeah. So you leave the Coast Guard. You've got life all figured out.
Sure. I thought so. No, here's the door. Here's the door. There's the step. And, I was in the Coast Guard one day. The next day I was out looking around. So I was a marine mechanic and I lived in Nantucket at the time. And I worked there as a marine mechanic for a year. And then the lifestyle was too expensive. Everything was too expensive. Milk was too expensive. So it was time to move home. Yeah. So I did that and moved back home with my parents and worked on boats and Harleys. Yeah. I became a Harley mechanic. And I did that for myself since a young age. Yeah. So I started my own little business doing that. And then I got hired by the town of Easton.
You thought about being a fireman before that, though?
Right. Yeah. So, being in the Coast Guard, you have all that knowledge and what to do in emergencies. So the first option when I got out was, I could be a fireman. I took the test. I was first on these lists. The amount of money that an entry-level fireman makes was less than what an entry level custodian would make.
Yeah.
By almost $10,000
Wow.
at the time.
Wow. Yeah.
And
I
I
didn't know
said,
that.
I did not know that.
You know, I didn't want to sleep at a place. I
Yeah.
didn't want to sleep there. I don't want to stay there anymore. I want to come home and have dinner and watch TV and
Yep.
not have to be restricted to that lifestyle. So I became a custodian. That quickly changed, and I became head of maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And I did the facilities maintenance at the middle school and the high school.
Yeah. Everybody that I've talked to that's run into you over the course of a 18-year career there, right? Is it 18 years?
Just about, I think.
Yeah. So I've done research on you, done homework. I've watched a few videos. I've followed you on social media, but I also talk to people at the school district and say, hey, because I got to make sure, right? This guy
Absolutely.
This guy can't be legit. Everything that I hear and everything he tells me and his mind, there's got to be something here. So I contacted a couple people that I know. I said, hey, you know Shaun Melendy? And everybody said the same thing. One of the most caring. Yes, I'll do whatever I can to help. You are always there to help faculty. You're always there to make the environment as productive and as comfortable for everybody in the school as possible, which is pretty cool. There was the one thing that I got out of it was you had immense pride, and it sounds like you have immense pride for all the work that you do, right? So that's pretty incredible. So you've done a bit in your young life, but what's been miraculous, amazing, and just now puts in this chapter of the last 18 months of your life, right? So you've done all this stuff, and then one day you wake up and you go for a ride, right?
That's right. Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah.
May 5th, I was going to have dinner at a friend of mine's place where I go 3 times a week in Taunton.
Yep.
He has great prime rib on Thursday nights. It's a bike night, typical thing. Everybody goes in their motorcycles. And I take off from my house at about 3:30 in the afternoon. And I was a mile from my home, just a mile. And a 19-year-old girl was distracted driving, texting, or whatever she was doing, and came over the center line of the road and hit me head on. I remember it all.
In your motorcycle.
I was on my motorcycle, right? Yes. On my motorcycle.
How fast were you going? How fast was she going?
I think I was doing 30, 35. Yeah. And from what the report said, she was going 45.
So that's a combined impact of about 75 or 80 miles an hour.
I imagine that's how it works.
Yeah.
Don't get all scientific.
No, I'm not. Well, no,
I'm
I'm just saying
scientific on me.
No,
there.
but like that's something that people don't understand is like when someone's coming in a head-on crash, it's not you're doing 35 miles an hour. The impact is the collective of the two people coming at each other. So that's a hit. I mean, anything's a hit, but that's
it was a hit for sure.
Yeah.
And I recall everything. I was conscious throughout the whole ordeal,
except when you died.
Except when I died. But my hand was traumatically amputated right at the scene in the car windshield. My left leg, I lost 7 inches of my femur. I had over 48 broken bones. I still have over 28 pieces of metal in me. So I get hit.
Yeah.
I gotta stop. I gotta stop you right there. This is how I roll.
Sure.
When that happens, because I've been in minor accidents, like, I mean, just walk us through what that was initial. Was it just total shock? Was it total pain? Was it total
no pain?
No pain.
No pain. It was instant. The first guy that I'm seeing, next door neighbor, he heard the impact and came running over. First thing I said to him was, "Is she okay? Why did she come over the center line? And is she okay? Is she okay?" So I wasn't worried about myself at that moment. Yeah. You get the ringing in the ears.
Yeah.
And, the lights weren't out. And I recognized that I didn't have a hand. So my first instinct was, let's go find it. You got to put it on ice, put it in a bag. So I'm on my forearms and dragging my hips and dragging my body through the dirt, trying to go locate this hand. And that's when first responders came and tourniqueted my left arm and tourniqueted my left leg. If it wasn't
just
for
to be
her,
clear, you're calm. You're not like
I was calm. No,
wow.
I was calm.
Yeah.
It was survival and next step, and all that training that I thought maybe I didn't absorb in the Coast Guard, I absorbed it. So here it is, looking for it. First responders show up. Wonderful policewoman who was new in the job. tourniqueted me. But while she was tourniqueting me, she asked me, Shaun, what did you have for breakfast this morning? And I'm like, Olivia, what does it matter what I had for breakfast? We need to find my hand. Let's go find my hand. Well, she's trying to see if I'm conscious and aware of the date it is. And I was well aware of what day it was and where I was going and everything that needed to take place. But if it wasn't for her fast actions of tourniqueting me with her tourniquet, her duty tourniquet, the one that she had on her belt for herself, I wouldn't be here talking about this amazing surgery. I wouldn't be here talking about how I was determined to stay alive. I would have been out and dead. So with that, the town of West Bridgewater has now supplied all tourniquets for all police officers to have in their vehicles or on their belts, not just for themselves, but for somebody in the future.
Incredible.
Wow. So then, then I went off in the ambulance, and all I remember is telling the medics, look, I have a dog at home. Somebody's going to go let my dog out. Somebody's going to go let my dog out. So my parents had moved to Florida a year before. So I was kind of here alone. Yeah. So I was worried about that dog in the house. Then I vaguely remember hearing a helicopter. And at that point, anything I remember is from what the flight paramedic has told me. I've had lunch with him. Yeah. He comes over in the house and we share stories, and I still talk to him almost daily on social media.
Yeah, I was going to say, you probably still are. I mean, you've talked to where it's only a mile away, you've talked to the gentleman that you said, is she okay? And why did she cross?
I did. Yeah. He was upset. He said, Shaun, can you come talk to me? I have these visions of just your name and your license, because you asked me to get your phone out. You asked me to get your license out. This is who I am. Tell them this is who I am. And he just couldn't get that out of his mind. Yeah. And he wasn't.
I can't either.
Good with himself.
That you had the wits about you to care about the girl, look for your hand, tell about your dog. I mean, it's extraordinary.
No hand, 48 broken bones, traumatic event, and
I gotta push back one more time. No pain, because you didn't just lose your hand. You were in shock, obviously, but
shock takes over.
Like, you got hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
All right, tell us about the helicopter, and tell us about the 3 times you almost.
So died. Helicopter, too many amounts of blood. I don't know how many liters of blood. Too many to count, he said. So flushing me blood. They got me in a sleep state, like I was going to sleep for an operation. And then he said when he saw the helicopter landing, when he was in the helicopter watching it land, he saw 7 trauma teams waiting to just jump in and give Shaun whatever he needed immediately. So during that process, I had died in the helicopter. I had died another time at the hospital in the CAT scan. I was going for the CAT scan. I died. They pulled me out. Then they had to do an exploratory on me, like old school, because the CAT scan didn't work. So I had a scar from my belly all the way up, opened me up, checked everything out internally to make sure that there weren't any internal injuries, because they couldn't use the technology. And at that point, I remember being in the operating room. I remember seeing myself on the table. I saw a white light. I didn't fly up. I wasn't conscious of my being, but I felt warmth. It's like that warmth that you probably just got last weekend when it was like 30 degrees outside, cold. The heat didn't come on yet, and you just want to stay in bed. And I had that sense of warmth next to me, but it wasn't time for me to go. Yeah. And I remember seeing myself on a table with a stainless steel table, sheets all over, people running around, yelling various drugs out loud to administer me.
So you have an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, I had it. I felt it. Yeah. And immediately wrote it all down once I was in a medically induced coma for a period of time. So, I didn't know, awaking from that coma, and my dad and my mom are standing there, and my sister, and they're all living in Florida. What is going on? I'm like, Dad, hey, come here, I want to tell you something. He says, no, I want to tell you something first. I said, no, I'm talking over you. I said, I lost my hand, but I'm okay. Everything's good. I'm all right. I used to be half left, but now I'm all right, Dad. I got this. And this was in the bed, all hooked up to all the machines. So, and doing that helped him, right? Yeah. Like if I didn't have that about me my parents, my sister, my friends, my coworkers, everybody would be down. So I had to keep that up.
Yeah, that's great, man.
And keeping that up wasn't just for my parents; it was for the nurses. There were nurses that I would have that would come in to see me when they start their shift, not to administer medicine, not to do anything to see me about any of my problems. They were coming in to start their day right by getting, inspirational words from me or jokes from me or ways for me to, give them a rise before they go to work. And that was fun for me, right? So now I have a job. I'm in the hospital laying there. All I can move is my right hand. I had external fixation of my hips and my legs, and those were all metal bars. They screwed in and metal bars externally to hold me together, including the ones internally. I had over 14 surgeries in 3 weeks. And that hospital experience was more of like my job every day when I woke up. Okay, I brush my teeth. I do my things that I'm going to do. Now who's coming in? Oh, okay, come into my office. So it was fun for me. And I made connections in that hospital with people that I still connect with today to let them know that they matter to me. They have value. And I love people. So that part was the easy part. It was waiting for everything else to fix itself before I could move on. I had several blood clots that wouldn't heal. I had a fasciotomy of my left leg where the fascia muscle built up so much fluid that it was going to explode. So they had to release that fluid. And then by releasing the fluid where it blew up so big, the incision they made, they couldn't stitch back up. So they had to do a skin graft. So they took a skin graft from there and put that over that spot. And then I have like a 7-inch concrete wedge, medical concrete in my left femur. At this point, I can feel my big toe, but my left leg I can't feel. I just do like muscle memory from the military. You just march. You roll your feet. And
I got to tell you, I can't wait to fly with you. When he goes through the metal detector, it's just going to be a blast off.
That might be something I bring up at some point. That might be one of my initiatives, to be honest. I go through, and first they had me go through. I was in a wheelchair when I went through the first time, and they wanded me all down and wiped me with the wipes and this and that. And that was fine. The next time, I'm going to walk through that thing. Let me go right through this. So you don't have to. I'm going to do it. Let's go. Put my arm up. I go through the scan thing, and I said, I'm going to light up like a Christmas tree. And they said, you did, but your hand didn't recognize it. To me, that poses a problem because there's lithium batteries and technology in here. So,
and I know some listeners are like, that was probably the most worst thing to think about when all of this is wanting to travel with someone that's going to set off a metal detector. But this is part of who you are. We could talk about. I have found we've had 3 human interactions, person to person, looking at one another. We've had probably 100 phone interactions or text interactions. And the one thing that I find is that nothing's off limits with you. And you just there is no difficult conversation. And you kind of just that half left, but I'm all right.
Yeah.
That type of thing. It's just it's amazing. So,
but on the other hand,
let's
get back to where we're.
Oh, this is great. Yeah. This is great.
So there I was in the hospital and.
Wait, my hand's up. I have a question.
Yeah.
Wrong hand. So I go and I'm in the hospital bed there, and they're trying to get me to move, but I can't move. They have to do it with a Hoyer lift.
Yep.
Lift me in and out of bed by a sling. So now it's time to rehab. Well, what can I rehab? I can't walk. I can't do all these things. My mom had stayed in the hospital for 3 months in Boston to be able to stay with me the whole time, to be there to advocate for me. She's a nurse, unbelievable nurse. And my sister's a nurse who flew up to advocate for me originally for 2 weeks. And, they were my big push to know that I didn't have to worry about that side, just worry about fixing you. And they'll make sure that the medical side gets done the right way. So it was time to go to a rehabilitation center. And they wanted me to go to a life care center over in West Bridgewater. And I'm not going there. That's where people go to die. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
So...
well, stop for a second. The doctor said you were probably not going to walk again, didn't they?
So the doctor said 2 years.
2 years. Oh,
he said it would be 2 years before I walked.
And how long did
6 months.
Yeah, that's incredible.
6 months I was determined to do it and not use a wheelchair. That sedentary business isn't for me. And I have to walk, right? We have to walk. So
yeah, and so for math purposes, it was Cinco de Mayo 2022.
Yes.
We're in November of 2023. So we're on month
Don't look at
18.
me.
We're
You're
on month
the
18.
freak with math.
We're
in your head.
basically on month 18. How long have you been walking? I mean, I've known you for a number of months.
I've been walking since I would say November of 2022.
So you were walking in 6 months.
I was
when you said
walking in
24.
6 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Love it, man.
You know, at that point when I did go to Florida to do a little rehab. So back up, I was going to go to these awful retirement homes or rehabilitation places in the state that I researched and I didn't want to go to. With the push of my mom, my sister, I got to go to Spalding in Charlestown, one of the best rehab hospitals in the world. And they pushed me. And now what are they going to push me to do? I can't get in and out of the bed. I have to use this lift. So they pushed me to transfer from the wheelchair, from the lift they put me in, to the bed. So I do that and I practice that. And I said, well, what's next? I want to do more. Well, we're going to lay you on the bed and you're going to push against us and you're going to pull against us. And I was killing it. I was doing everything they wanted me to do. But I just couldn't transfer by myself yet. I needed an assist. So that was what was keeping me from going home. But my mom took it upon herself. And with the help of my dad, they both took me home from there instead of going to a retirement home or rehabilitation place other than Spalding. I went home. They created the safe environment in my house, put a hospital bed in my living room, opened doorways, put in a shower, walk-in shower for me. So my parents, my family's support through all this is so amazing. And, you know.
Yeah, you can't do it without family, right? You got lucky there because not everyone has that kind of support system.
It's really, truly blessed for them.
Yeah.
I go to Spalding. I stay there for 3 or 4 weeks. I get out of there. Now I go home. I get home, and the cool part is there's a daycare next door to my house, and they have about 11 kids every day. And all these kids, Mr. Shaun, Moto Shaun, Shaun Moto, they call me all kinds of different names because they see me on my tractor or on my dirt bike or on my motorcycle. So all 11 of them are holding up signs when I pulled in the ambulance, and they are waving to me, screaming and yelling and singing. And my family was down at the end of the driveway when I pulled in, and it was a warm feeling that I was away for 3 or 4 months. I didn't have anybody at my home but my dad. My dog is there now. All these kids. So it was great to be welcomed by them.
That is awesome.
So I guess I skipped out on the surgery part, right?
No, that's all right. We're gonna get to your hand.
That's the surgery, yeah.
But did you have a prosthetic, or did you just have, through all of this, you just didn't have a hand? You didn't have anything.
Like when you left the hospital.
Right. I had nothing. I had stitches that were removed 3 weeks, 4 weeks before I left the hospital. No, I didn't have any prosthetic device. It was just my residual limb.
And did you have any, was there any thoughts, or was there any of this discussion about what we're going to get into next? Or
there sure was.
Yeah,
so
there was.
In week 2 of after the accident, I had awoken from a medically induced coma, and I remember a doctor standing at the end of my bed with eyes of determination and trust in me, and he had his mask on, you know. So he said, "Shaun, my name's Dr. Matthew Carty, and I'm going to make you feel whole again if you're willing to go through this procedure. You're going to be the first one in the world under a traumatic amputation to receive what's called an AMI procedure. It's an agonist-antagonist myoneural interface between the muscles and nerves in your arm and your residual limb, and we'll tie things together so you'll be able to operate a fully articulating robotic hand. You won't have any phantom limb pain. And this is where amputations are going to start going. But you're going to be the first one under a traumatic amputation. And we think because of your drive, we talk to your family, your sense of adventure.
Ideal candidate. Yeah.
You're always doing these great things that we want you.
Dr.
There's only 4 in the world that's ever happened. Total,
so at that time, there were only 4, and the other 4 were elective amputations, where they would have a hand that was injured for a period of time that they wanted to have it removed so they could use a prosthetic device and not be in the way. So I said, yeah, let's do it. If I'm going to help other people, I want in on this. So MIT and Harvard created the surgery, and it was implemented by the money raised from the Stepping Strong Center. The Stepping Strong Center was created after the marathon bombings. Jillian Rennie was a victim of the bombings, who her legs were severely injured, and Dr. Cardi, implemented this surgery on her and helped her regain function of her legs and walk again.
Mm-hmm.
So with the money raised in 10 years from the Stepping Strong Center, they raised money for research and development of new ways to treat trauma and help trauma victims. So in 10 years, they were able to raise enough money to create the surgery that gives me the ability to operate this multi-articulating hand and feel whole again. It's not, can I tie my shoes? It's not, can you do these certain tasks? I can do any task you ask with this hand, but it's the ability to feel whole. Walking,
Mm-hmm.
you feel balanced. Getting up from a seat or a chair, we push off with two hands. Holding groceries, opening the door. Now I'm 8 inches short there, right? So little things happen that you're not aware of. So this surgery, I said, yes, let's do it. Part of the surgery was I was going to go to MIT and do 2 or 3 sessions of research on how the surgery went and how they can either improve the surgery next time or make a better prosthetic device in the future. So having that surgery, I knew that there was no pain. I felt like my hand was in a Pringles can. I felt like I still had a little hand, and I could open it little at a time. I could move it a little bit by following the occupational therapy programs that they implemented and doing the little games and tasks and tricks. They had me put my hand in a mirror, glass mirror, and I have to mimic the motions on one hand, and I feel it on this hand.
That is wild.
So they had me do different tasks like that. So by doing that, now I have the proprioception of my hand in space. I know it's open. I know it's closed. I know what position it's in. And now I can almost open it all the way. But it still has that muscle memory of being on the handlebars of the motorcycle. Amazing surgery. I just hope it's implemented faster in the future. If it can be implemented in the battlefield immediately, that's where it needs to take place. And amputations essentially haven't changed in over 100 years. Medicines have changed and things like that. But essentially the surgery was they would stretch your muscles and nerves out. They would sever them. They would slap back so they're shorter now. And then those muscles and nerves still continue to grow. And when they grow spastically. And that spastic nerve pain is what a lot of amputees complain about. They call it phantom limb pain.
Yeah.
And it's severe. And when you're in that pain, what do you need? Some people need medicine. And that medicine to cure the pain also causes other problems.
Right.
So this surgery eliminates that pain. It also eliminates that dependency on other drugs.
So you were special in some ways because they knew you had the mental fortitude to go through this and the will. What prevents, like, how soon is this going to be rolled out so it's normal? Is it cost? Or is there the type of injury kind of dictate whether somebody's eligible for this? So
I'm not a medical professional, but speaking from words of experience and what I've heard from other people, I had a gentleman call me who they gave him my number, the doctor's office, and we spoke for quite a while, and he had hurt his hand 30 years ago in the Army, and he had it fused together. So over 30 years of having that, he had pain, and he had, he was on medicine a lot for pain, and he didn't want that anymore, and he wanted to have a prosthetic device and a working robotic hand. So I said, yeah, man, this is the way to go.
Yeah.
And he had the surgery done. So I talked him into electively removing his hand to have a better life.
Yeah.
And it's just going on further now. He's number 6.
Yeah.
Let's go more. The surgery's so new. It's out there. It's available. If you contact Dr. Matthew Cardi at Brigham and Women's of the Faulkner Hospital, you can set up a consult. And this isn't just for upper limb. This is also for lower limbs. The lower limb surgery first was done by a patient called Jim Ewing. It's called a Ewing procedure, and it was also created by Dr. Hugh Herr at MIT, and he's also a double amputee. So what that does is gives them the opportunity to have an articulating ankle. At this point, I think the commercially articulating ankle is too expensive. It's out of realm of where the cost is. But for me, I have this. I have it now. The surgery is implemented. I have the device, and away I go. So it's just let's spread the news. Let's tell people about it and get the word out there. Once the journal's written and once the medical data research and collection is complete, I'm sure this will take off and it'll be going crazy. Every time I went to the doctor at Dr. Cardi's office, there were several other doctors in there around me, looking over me, wanting to know about the surgery. One woman from Germany. So they're implementing the surgery elsewhere for sure.
Well, it's a 4-minute mile, right? It's like, and in one of the videos, the news thing, or maybe it might have been something you said or somewhere I saw, was like, you're Luke Skywalker, right? You're when Star Wars, when they close up the robotic arm and hand when it gets cut off by his dad, Darth Vader there. They've developed this. It's happened. Now what's next, right? It's not gonna, I don't think it's something that's gonna stay like amputations have for the last 100 years. Now they have something.
Yeah,
it is.
And you're part of it. Out of 7 billion plus people on the planet, you're the only one. And I hate to say it this way, but I don't know that there's a better spokesperson out there. If you got someone from 30 years to think about how to be whole again.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, you were obviously a positive person before this happened, but I mean, this changed your life. Obviously, it changed your life. But in some ways, there's been some blessings that have come out of this too, would you say?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Without,
I mean, you're helping people.
And that's where I started, at a young age. That's what I wanted to do. My grandmother, which I didn't speak of yet, but she had suffered from polio from the age of 2, and she died when I was in 5th grade. So she was paralyzed from the waist down. And seeing the things that she did, nothing stopped her. We swam together. We did all these things, but everybody would shy away from looking at her, right? It was the 90s. It was the 80s. You look away from somebody that's disabled. You don't look at them. You don't talk to them. You don't want to see them. Well, her being that way, and I know that she's a hero in my eyes my whole life, gives me the determination to go through with this. And when someone looks, I don't let them look away. I grasp their attention. I bring them in. I talk to them. You want to look at it? Hey, you need a hand? So I do whatever I can to get that stigma away from the disability lifestyle or whatever they may call it, or just for this in general. Now, this is a cool thing. The robotic hand is cool and it's cool to have, but sometimes you have to use the old style devices. Now, when I ride a motorcycle, I still ride a motorcycle. I've repaired my bike so I can ride it without using the clutch, but I use a different device to ride the motorcycle with. I don't use this. So there's many tools in my toolbox now. When I meet people, they say, "Oh, that's so cool. It almost makes me want to have one." I said, "Yeah, but you haven't seen the rest of the toolbox. There's all kinds of other stuff that comes with it." So, my grandmother's inspiration and push to get through this, it's something that's driven me my whole life. When I was in 5th grade, she died of cancer in front of me in hospice in the home. And we were there with her till the end. And to see that, to feel that, to know that at a young age, and know that she's with me, and she gives me that drive and inspiration to continue to help other people, continue to do good for myself. I'm still healing myself. Other than the hand, the rest of the body's still broken and still healing on its own. So,
well, I mean, I have to ask this, like mentally, it feels like you've gotten stronger. Obviously, you have probably some residual mental issues that one goes through in this kind of situation, but you almost seem mentally stronger than you were before. Is that impossible?
You haven't been diagnosed with like any form of a PTSD or any?
No. So the thing about this is,
like, do you have nightmares?
No. So the things that come up in nightmares, or not nightmares, but you wake up gasping for air in the middle of the night, is I'm in the water, right? It's dark. I'm swimming and I hear babies crying, I hear adults crying, I need help, this one needs help, who do you go to first? Those are the things that come to my mind as far as if I had PTSD from being in the Coast Guard, helping people and doing things, coming on scene and not knowing what to do right away. Those are the things. This, I've said a couple times to a few people, it's been a year or 18 months. Maybe it hasn't set in yet. Maybe it hasn't happened yet, right? I'm not going to dismiss it if it comes up, but mentally I'm strong. And am I stronger than I was before? I don't think so. I'm the same dude. I'm exactly the same. I don't know that it made me stronger, except that it made me be able to vocalize myself better, maybe.
Yeah.
And talk about things. And, just in the short time, the past year, being able to talk at certain men's groups in Florida that I've spoken at, it really helps. And it shows when people either call me, text me, or come right up to me and tell me, hey, look, man, what you told me is going to help me through the rest of my day. And I'm 91 years old. So by doing that and being able to have that now, that's where my mental strength came from. Dealing with this, maybe sometimes laying on my stomach in the middle of the night when you wake up and you're on your stomach sleeping, I'd wake up and it'd be like, oh, I'm all curled up in that position that I was in when she hit me or when I was on the ground crawling around. But no, I'm alive and I know who's with me and I know who's watching over.
This is, I get a lot of people that reach out to me, ask me to talk about, hey, can I be a public speaker? I want to share my story. I want to do all this. And one of the things I'm hypersensitive about is messing with PTSD, with trauma from, telling your story and doing stuff. Like I mind blown with this one. He went and did a keynote last month, sat in the audience. It was amazing. And what was wild was he had an hour. And by the time he got a half hour in, there were so many people that wanted to talk to him and ask him questions, and tough questions, right? They weren't like, hey, did it hurt? Like, yeah, okay, it hurt, but like detailed questions and people were getting emotional and he was getting emotional, but it was never like anything that was causing, wasn't the event that causing the sensitivity. It was the sensitivity of people's feelings and emotions. It was wild. And you're amazing. You're just like I told you. He's casting what he's able to do now. And I don't want to say that life is better, post accident or anything else. You can't measure that stuff. But what I think, because you're 1 in 7 billion, he's going to cast a much wider net and live not just his legacy, but his grandmother's legacy. As I talked to him and his love for his grandmother, while it was only short lived for you were 5. Right?
Was she 5th grade? I was like 11.
Oh, you were 5th grade. I had the number 5 right. I just didn't have it. So 5th grade. So 11 years with his grandmother. She put such an impact on him that's kind of the first thing that he talks about a lot of times. So
amazing story. I mean, you're gonna do so much good in the world with this.
I hope so. It's you say 1 in 7 billion, right? So the small statistics. In the United States, there's about 48 to 50,000 upper amputees that are like me. That's transradial or above, where some of them are partial hands and partial fingers, right? So it's from the wrist or above, no hand at all, or transhumeral, and that's about 3% of the amputee population. So if you think about how cool the device is and how they're going to market in the future and make a better one and do this, they're only doing it for 3% of the population. So I have to vocalize myself. I have to be loud and proud,
Yeah. I don't know what the camera can pick up or not pick up, but there's so much to that device. I'm just blown away.
Give Mark the finger.
But I thought this was a clean shot.
No, that's fine. It's only for people that can see it. Go for it.
This pizza was not good.
Oh, wait a minute. Was it the pizza joke again?
I mean, you're able to do pretty much everything with that hand, and it's the technology is remarkable.
It is, and the technology's there, but the technology is ahead of the surgery. I mean, the surgery is ahead of the technology. The technology would be you don't need to have this casting sleeve on the arm.
Okay.
It would be you just put a hand on your end of your hand and you go.
Yeah.
So that's the next. That's the next trip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at it. Oh my god.
Yeah.
So The next phase in the world, right, would be, this is called a socket. From here down is called a socket.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hand is called a terminal device. So it would be best just to put the hand on your arm and go.
Yeah.
But they haven't found a way to support that weight yet and support it properly. They are talking about this new nerve intervention where you just plug the hand in, little wires go in here, and you just go about your day, and it works.
Let's talk about a couple of common questions that people would have. So at the end of the day, you take that whole thing off and then plug it in, or what?
Mm-hmm. So
you don't,
it could be any time of the day.
Yeah.
I have several different prosthetic devices to use. So the battery lasts about 7 hours and it charges in an hour.
Wow.
There's 2 lithium batteries inside here. There's 17 sensors inside. Those sensors pick up pattern recognition of the electromyography signals of your skin, the same way your finger uses your cell phone. Those sensors in turn internalize the skin and muscle movements. On my phone, it builds a classifier saying this is what Shaun wants when we want this movement. This is what happens to Shaun's limb. It writes a program, and then it stores it inside. I calibrate it once a day to guarantee that it's going to work the same. Your skin moves a little bit, so it's not. It doesn't go on exactly the same each time.
Yeah.
So sometimes that you just have to calibrate it in the morning, and that part of the technology we all have a problem with your cell phone. Why do I have to turn it off and restart it? Mm-hmm. Why do I have to restart the router? It's called reinitializing.
Yeah.
Well, what does that mean? Just turn it on and off. It's like, why do we have to do this? There's no answer, but some people get to that spot with the technology and give up. And with being an upper amputee, you can just take your device off and go about your day and do what you do. And when they do that, and they don't use their device, they put it down, they're less likely to use it again and again and again. Mm-hmm. And I find all the upper amputees that I've ran into since I've been an amputee in the past year, have nobody's used it. One guy had his device on, just one. And that was sad to me. Yeah. So there's a push in me and there's an initiative in me to also make sure there's a prosthetic for every limb that needs one, and use it and use your device. If you're having a stumble with the technology, like, I want to tell you, call me. Let me work through it with you. I not only can do the technology part on the phone, but there's been times in Florida when it's broke. And how does it break? I can't bring it to the clinic right away. They don't have an appointment. Well, I take it apart. And by taking it apart, I found wires that were broken, soldered the wires back together, and I'm away and run it again. So,
I can't even go to the fuse box and flick the right fuse.
I won a toolbox at a conference this week. It's got no tools yet. I'm waiting for Santa to bring those. I can't. I don't even know. Yeah,
don't use it for tools. Use it for other things.
Yeah, well, I got gloves in there. It's holding my gloves. Yeah, for when I get tools. Go work gloves.
You got any rights that you need? No. Looking for a right. I try to go to buy gloves and get a discount, but they won't do it.
You get
try to buy a couple of rights, they won't do it.
Half price gloves, yeah. Let me. So I've gotten to talk to you, get to know you a bit more than most guests, and more than Mark. Is there a question about you that you wish in situations like this, or when you go to MIT or something, you go, man, I wish they would have asked me, what I answered for breakfast, or something about your life? Is there something out there that you wish the world would ask you that you want to give an answer to? Just put you on the spot.
I'm going to write that down. That's a great question.
You just totally put him on the spot.
Yeah,
that was good. I like it.
But I mean, it's just like one of those things.
It's his opportunity. Yeah.
When people have this kind of these stories of life and everything else, we get so fixated on the hand. We get so fixated on the accident. We get so fixated on all this stuff, and it's like, that's part of me, but that's not what defines me. That's part of what I do, but not everything. And there might be something to you, or might be something to your story that's never been asked in 18 months that you're just like, man, I wish somebody would ask that question. So you don't need to tell me what it is, but you need to think about it. So when you're back here, you can say,
no, I already know what it is. I think I know what it is. It's like,
right.
It's powerful. It's, I want people to ask me, what's next for you, Shaun? How are you going to help the next person?
I haven't
what
asked
are you going to do in the future for the next person, right? So I don't want you to ask about me and about my woes and my worries. You can. I'm open to talk about it all. But I want you to ask me what I'm going to do for you, what I'm going to do for the next person, and how I'm going to help others in the future. Because that's also going to drive me.
Yeah.
And when people tell me and ask me that question, they're going to think of questions on their own.
Yeah.
And they're going to give me things to do. Now I have a job. So, I think that would be
great.
it. Because like I say, I'm open with everything. Anybody can ask me everything. Everybody's asked me everything. Or I talk too much and I tell them anyways.
Yeah.
I know in the last book project I had, we featured the Roys, Travis Roy, and his family when he got paralyzed playing hockey. And his family, they did what you're talking about now. They became resources. They became advocates for any kind of amputee injury. In his case, it was quadriplegic. But that's so impressive. I love it, man. I love that you're just 24/7. Just call me. I don't care what time of the day it is. If I can help you, I'm going to help you.
And my phone is always on. I told Josh that before. I know it worked because, well, no,
did you call him?
You were in San Diego somewhere, texting me at 11 at night, midnight.
Oh, no, every time he calls me, random time.
So, but my phone's on, and
for defense, it was 9. It was 9 in
9 your time,
9 in Los Angeles,
midnight here,
and it was midnight.
You said you were good with math, but
it was 9 and 12.
Not at that time. You weren't.
9 and
12. So I have a question.
Okay,
and sorry for asking this, but it strikes me as you're going to have an answer. Did you ever fall out with the girl who hit you?
It's like a bad divorce at this point. The state's pressed charges against her.
Okay,
and it's in court, in the investigative stages.
Yep.
And she doesn't want to lose her license, so she wants to take it to trial.
Oh my God.
So I go and I sit through things, and she's seen me in court, cried, but I've forgiven her.
That was my next question. You seem like the type of person who is
from day one in the hospital, laying there. There's nothing that can change.
Right.
The only thing I can change is what I do, and I can make change. So I have 100% sympathy for her. I've forgiven her. I wish that it was a different world where she could come alongside of me. Mm-hmm. If she was sitting here next to me right now, it would give her power. It would give her inspiration. It would help her through her life. If she came with me to talk to kids about distracted driving at driver's ed programs, at high schools, guess what? She's going to leave smiling because I'm going to make her smile.
Right.
So this negative thing that most people have when something bad happens to them, we got to turn tragedy into hope. Mm-hmm. And I hope that someday that there is a connection that we can make a difference in the world because of that.
If the state is listening, I have a proposal. I think they should, and you can tell me to shut up if you don't agree, but I think they should drop the charges, and part of that agreement should be that she should come on the road with you. She should be an advocate for distracted driving.
I did make a statement. Okay. I did make a statement like that in court, and I said I wanted her to come alongside me and go work with other amputees at different VAs throughout New England. Mm-hmm. And just go in and sit with them, play checkers with them, talk to them, see what's happening. We don't need to tell them what happened, what we're about.
Nope.
But it's going to make a difference for you, and we're helping other people at the same time. And that would be great. And I do not want anybody to go to jail. And that's what the charges are now facing. But it's unlikely that'll happen. But I don't want that on somebody. If I had kids, my child would be that age. And things happen in life. And these things either make us stronger or they put us down. And I would never want somebody to, go to jail at that young age and put them down. And, they got their whole life to live. I've only got 40 left, right?
Yeah. No, I told Mark so little about you until just before you came in. And when I went to pick up pizza, I'm like, hey, just talk to him, get to know him a little bit. And I just look over every time and he's just nodding his head and just kind of a disbelief and I think just an admiration of sorts, which is kind of the way that the way that I wanted his first experience with you to be a lot like my first experience with you, because it really is one of those wow moments.
I'm just trying to stop myself from crying.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Well, let it out, man. We're all a bunch of guys sitting in here and
it's all positive stuff. And that's what I mean when he said I was, emotional talking in front of all those people. I walked in there not knowing I knew any of them, but I actually knew people when I was there. there were people I had connected with in the outside world previous to me being there.
And people knew your father.
A gentleman knew my dad.
Yeah.
So, he didn't have any questions, but to be the wise guy like my dad is, I called on him at the end. I said, "Hey, Bill, what was your question?" But he turned it around and he got up and he said positive things about my family, about where my work ethic came from. And he worked with my dad for a long time. So,
and he had talked to your dad for like 20 years, and he reached out to him.
I sent my dad that number that
Told me
as I was driving home. I said, "Dad, call him."
That's great.
And they spoke.
20 years and talked to him. That's
so. But you were saying being emotional. So I'm not shy about it. Like, yeah, we're all emotional and we get that way. And am I crying or was I tearing up because of the PTSD of the accident? No, it wasn't. It's how my story affected other people and it resonates with them. Yeah. There was a woman at that keynote that, she told me about a life story that she had. Mm-hmm. And it was similar to the resilience and determination of me. And it was speaking of her dad. And she was emotional in that. And that was because of, my story that brought it out in her. And that's why I was emotional. It wasn't the pain that was on me at that time, so all natural, good stuff.
No, this is.
You say that. Believe me, it's not.
Yeah.
Nothing you'd explain today is natural. No, I know
it's
Josh. I'm not speaking for Josh, but I'd like to think that I had the wherewithal to say the same questions you did. Is she okay? Where's my hand? This is my dog? It's not natural, dude. What you did, what you went through is incredible, and the way you handle it is incredible. I mean, I'm speechless.
Yeah, it's natural for him.
Yeah,
and I think that.
And I think it always probably was natural. I mean, you sound like the type of guy that this isn't just new to you. Like you've been this mindset for before the accident, and now it's just amplified.
It has, and before the accident, it was helping other people. The accident happened. It took my left hand. How am I going to help other people now? I said to myself, I'm not going to be able to turn wrenches. I'm not going to be able to work on motorcycles. I'm not going to be able to fix things. Well, I can fix all those things. I can still do that. But what it gave me was the ability to help other people with my words, with my mouth, by talking to other people, sharing my story. So now I'm able to help other people in a different way. Mm-hmm. That I didn't think was going to be a vehicle, be available to me. But if there's anybody out there going through their own struggles, whether it's emotional or physical, you're not alone. Yep. There's always help. There's always hope. And, with the support of those around you, you can accomplish amazing things. Can't never let anybody tell you what you can't do. You have to be determined to do it on your own.
I agree. And I'm going to make a universal decision here on behalf of Josh. But any T-shirts that we sell in the month of November, the 100% of the proceeds are going to go to the Stepping Stone charity or the charity of your choice that you think would be more beneficial.
Sure. Stepping Strong Center.
Stepping Strong. So any Be Awesome orders placed on our site, whatever you order, if it's okay with Josh, and I kind of just put him on the spot.
Yeah, I've run out of things to say other than yes to you. So I just that's my standing answer. So
yes,
Mark handles all the fulfillment of orders, so he's got all the track of it. So yeah, lock and load, do it. It's you got to go to the beawesome.com website that we're currently working on to make even more products available and everything. But yeah,
and if anybody's out there looking to check out new products, is the product called Hero Link. It's a friend of mine's company. That is a rubber wrist bracelet that you wear, and in case of an emergency, your phone, any smartphone can tap the bracelet, and it'll immediately come up with medical information and other information that's pertinent to helping somebody. I think it's used in 44 states. Police and fire departments have it actively. 271, I think, departments in the country that are using it now.
Nice.
So it's a way in case something happens, you can jump into action and check.
Get it on. We'll get that. We'll get their
so I guess the next time we'll have to talk about my rescue ability, huh?
Yeah. Well, we covered a lot of ground and we just scratched the surface. So we are going to have you back.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Actually, you have an open invitation. That's you just gave the executive order on the orders. I'm going to give the executive order on Shaun's open invite. Anytime you've got something you want to talk about,
done.
Anytime you get something that you want to just come in and chop it up with us and catch up, you're in there like swimwear. So
appreciate that.
Appreciate you making the time for us and coming out here and just your story is remarkable. Keep keep just doing what you're doing, and Be Awesome's always in your corner. And my prediction is he's going to be as big a keynote speaker to cast the wide net, not for notoriety and for money, but for making a difference in the world. And that's a rarity. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. And I love that we got the question that nobody asks that he would love to give the answer to. So thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate you.
You're welcome. Going to be more than a conqueror every day.
Yes, absolutely. So that'll wrap us up here. Adam's giving me the cue. We're recording podcast after podcast after he runs a tight ship, but always have to give a shout out to the Easton Community Access Television team, ECAT, and Adam especially, because he's always in here with us. Ratings reviews, 5-star rating reviews, we love and appreciate. If I don't deserve it, if we don't deserve it, now that Mark's here co-hosting with me, I take those complaints, questions, criticisms, concerns. Josh at beawesome.com, BEAUSM. And that'll do it from here. If you can be anything, be awesome. Have a great day.
Come to you from underneath a peach blossom. It's time for an episode of Be Awesome. Find positivity throughout your life and work. Just like our mascot rooster, Steve the Jerk.